Hey everyone, welcome to the Fargo 3D Printing Show today. Jake Clark, John Schneider, and Eric Faldy. Today on the podcast, we went to CES this past week and we saw a lot. We were there pretty quick. We just kind of got there.
Two days and gone.
And that was fine.
That was a week. I guess it was a week ago now. So
yeah. I don't know. This is the third year that you and I have gone,
yes.
And I think each year it gets more of all right. Let's see the stuff we need to see.
Who survived?
Let's talk to the people we need to see. Or talk to the people we need to talk to, and then let's just GTFO, because I don't know. I think if we had more time, moving around and looking at the show as a group doesn't really work. Like, because everyone else in our group is interested in different weird stuff.
You like the TVs.
Yeah, I mean, I like the TVs, and I like appliances. I don't know. Appliances are interesting to me. But yeah, I guess we'll just cover the 3D printer side of things, since we're a 3D printing show.
And then one that probably shouldn't be in the 3D printing section because it's not, but it has a 3D printer, and it rhymes with Polaroid.
Yeah, so let's just start talking about that. So Polaroid, they weren't in the 3D printing section, and I read one article that said Polaroid is what happens when you don't know what your company is anymore. It's basically all licensed stuff. So I don't even know if there's any official Polaroid products there. It's all just items that have licensed the Polaroid name to it. So they had two 3D printers there that they were showing off. One of them was a larger 3D printer, and one was a smaller 3D printer. And the larger one is only available in the UK and only to the European
and it was
market.
here last year as well.
Yeah, print quality on that one, not impressed. Better than last year.
Shipped cartridge.
Yeah, and a chipped cartridge.
And the build on, like, just the unit built, it doesn't look very robust. It just looks chintzy.
No, and that may be because it's a prototype unit, but still, it's not as far along as it should be, and I don't even know if it started shipping yet, and it's on the spendier side too for a printer. Then the smaller printer is going to be available. Oh, go ahead. Did you say more on the larger one?
Yeah, for the larger one, the filament, there's actually some wood filament, and diameter variances. Like, you could see it by, like, just looking at it. It was so bad. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Then the smaller 3D printer, I think this one was going to be $699. I think it had a build area of maybe 6 by 6 by 6. So not bad, not terrible. The prints coming off it were okay. Kind of looks
like an M3D micro, like bigger.
Yeah,
with better lids on it.
Yeah, and better printing.
Or like the Apple computer from like '99 that had all the different colors. Yeah, I mean that really plastic.
I mean,
look.
It's not a bad. I don't think it's a bad printer.
It looked okay. Everything looked relatively solid. It had a weird screen that would pop out, and
that was kind of neat.
You'd think the hinge would go hinge down, but if it just comes out like a breadboard in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then I was messing with one, seeing what can I do with the printer while it's printing, and then I got no. So I sheepishly walked away and took a keychain. So this is what I got.
Oh man, their plan worked.
Yeah, 80. I looked at this and it's like the Bonnaroo logo this year. I was like, why is there 3 circles? I was like, oh, it's 80. Okay.
Yeah, it's their
80 years of Polaroid.
And Polaroid wasn't in the 3D printing section. They were actually over in the main hall.
Yeah, like where all the camera and TV section.
Well, and they had a whole section too. They had like one really. Well, it must have been.
Okay, that's fine.
They had one. They had 2 areas. Polaroid did, it looked like, and one area was actually closed and fenced off, and then the other area was where the printer was at. So we were like, why would you pay all that money to be there and then not have anybody?
I don't know. Polaroid doesn't make sense.
Speaking of, if we're done with Polaroid, I had a good segue. Speaking of people that weren't there, or shouldn't be there, I guess Skelmet. I don't know. Skelmet was not there. We were going to talk to them. They're the ones that do scans, and then they make a helmet or sunglasses based off of the scan.
Oh, okay.
And their booth was empty, and not sure why.
Was that the one right across from like MakerBot?
Yes. Yeah.
Behind Fusion
So kind of toward the back. So I'm guessing a slightly cheaper spot because it was a little smaller too, but then it's still just that expensive to be there. So I'm sure they have a good reason to not be there, but they weren't there, so we couldn't talk to them. So
yeah, I guess of the people that we did talk to in the 3D printing section, 2 of the more interesting ones were Markforged, and this is interesting because of the product or the the items that they had there. So Markforged unveiled and if you're not familiar with Markforged, they're the ones that make the carbon fiber 3D printers. So it actually puts down a continuous strand of carbon fiber into the nylon part that it's printing. So still FDM style, but they released something called the Metal X. And this thing, it's an FDM style 3D printer, but it prints in solid metal. So the way it works is it has a basically a metal powder impregnated filament, and so it prints that out, FDM style, so extrudes the filament. And then once it's done, you put it into a sintering oven, it gets really hot, it melts out the plastic binder that's in there, and then it sinters that metal together. So you end up with a solid metal part. And right now they're just using, they're using stainless steel, I forget which grade of stainless steel, and I think they have another half dozen, so 6 to 10 other metals that are in the works. Really good print quality. They also have a lower end 3D printer so I guess the Metal X, it's going to retail for $99,500, so all metal 3D printer, US, for under $100,000, which is a pretty big deal. Because right now to get started, you're looking at $250,000 and up. And this one has a much larger build area than the $250,000.
I think the shrink rate is 17%?
19.5%.
Yeah, I remember some weird number like that.
That's close.
Yeah.
And then they also have their lower, so on the opposite end of the spectrum, they have the Onyx 3D printer, which is, it prints using a chopped carbon fiber nylon material. And I've never seen FDM prints look that good. It's a very precise, very accurate 3D printer. They had, the typical Rook 3D print, and they had embossed text on the outside, and you could make out all of the text. It's very difficult to do that on FDM printers just because you run into resonance issues, or it doesn't move slowly enough in those spots to lay down the material precisely. So I don't know. I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, it was a cool booth.
Yeah, and I got to interview Greg Mark.
That's our first one going out, and it's probably coming out before this video. So
yep.
Just look forward to that. And then we have probably about 12 interviews. I think it was 12, and then some of them were two-parters. So I'm guessing we're going to keep those together.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think the Onyx was $3,500, and if you wanted to upgrade to the continuous strand, I believe that was a $3,500 upgrade.
And it would be continuous strand fiberglass, not continuous strand carbon fiber. I don't know if you can upgrade to continuous strand carbon fiber.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just a little more expensive.
So that's the one that I thought was the most interesting. Jake, out of the ones you talked to, what did you find?
DWS Labs was pretty interesting. They kind of have a lower end machine and a higher end machine. Just really interesting to see them consistently there for the last 3 years. Joseph Prusa was there, and with his group, and we're excited because we're getting one of those printers in, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah, we have a lot of new printers in, so I think
Raise 3D just showed up.
Next week we'll probably talk about the new printers we got.
Yeah, because Raise 3D just showed up today. The Form 2 showed up before we left for Vegas. The Anet A8 showed up way before we left.
It's sitting in a box in the other room.
Marcus needs to put that one
Someone
together.
will put that together.
Yeah. And then we have the MK2 coming in probably end of January.
That's
and
the
i3, the Prusa.
Yeah, and you've been working on the Formlabs, so we can.
The Formlabs is cool, and we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
And then Nano Dimensions was another really interesting one. Todd and I talked
to them last year.
Todd, yeah.
I think I was with you and got a couple photos, but this year we actually got an interview. They're an Israel-based company. I don't remember the price of the printer. I want to say it was $125K, something like that. And it prints. Is it circuit boards?
Yep. So it does prototype circuit boards.
Yeah,
so it's really interesting.
If you're in the right market, it makes sense. But for hobbyists, it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, but
you can
really
get
cool.
software. I think it's like free PCB or something like that. And then you can get you can do very basic boards, and you can right from the software go and have it made for $20-$30 and have like 10-15 of them. So that's a really cheap, inexpensive way to do R&D for basic boards. Like surface mount and stuff like that probably isn't the best, but any through hole stuff is pretty decent. And then I feel like the 3D printing section was smaller this year.
I think it was.
And wasn't as showy.
There's
past years.
There's only
3D Systems wasn't even there at all.
No, 3D Systems wasn't there. Ultimaker wasn't there, although I don't think they were there last year.
I don't think
Ultimaker
so.
wasn't there.
Robo 3D had a substantially downsized booth. I think they had.
Last year they won best booth for 3D printing, I don't remember exactly what, but they won an award for their booth. This year it was just the smallest you could get.
Last year I think they had like a 40 by 40.
They had a mascot walking around. I love the Robbie one.
It was a big, really intricate booth, but yeah, I think you're seeing the 3D printer companies have a more practical approach to how they exhibit at CES, which had to happen. Mm-hmm. You can only have the big flashy booth for so long before Well, another thing when you look at 3D systems, I never understood why they had such a huge booth at CES, because so many of the technologies they were showing off were on the industrial side of things. So they'd spend a ton of money on having booth space for these big, like they had their all metal, like their biggest all metal 3D printer there last year. It's like, why on earth did you bring that? Who's gonna buy? Who at that show is going to buy that?
It's cool to just show it off.
Well, and I think and on 3D Systems note, I think I just got an email, and we have been a reseller of 3D Systems since very the beginning, and now they're closing out, I believe, all of their reseller on the consumer side of it, and then discontinuing all their consumer stuff now for the resellers. So now that they're completely out of the printer side, now they're following up and getting rid of all the resellers. So
just what a waste of money.
If anybody wants a Cube Pro Duo, we have
there's one behind me.
Well,
Yeah,
I still think we're gonna come out with an upgrade kit at some point. It's just I don't.
We have a lot of other things going.
We're so busy with other projects. I don't know when we're gonna get to it, but I think it will happen.
I'm trying to think of what my favorite thing was.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Titan Robotics booth was really cool. They have the Cronus.
I think that's what it's called.
I can't remember the exact pronunciation. I think that's the spelling.
And it uses the Autodesk Project Escher, where it uses multiple extruder heads to create the same part. So it like splits up how much of each layer it's going to do, and then it times it so that they don't bump into each other, which is really freaking cool.
And I think they had some video on their Instagram that I just saw today of it actually doing that. So you'd see, they start moving around and helping each other out, and then some of them pull off for a while, they go back on. When we were watching, it was just doing separate parts.
Yeah, and the reason for that, they said, is because in transporting it, even though it's got a huge, heavy steel frame, it ends up shifting that much, and they said they just finished building that machine one day before they had to ship it for CES. So they didn't have time to spend a lot of time calibrating it once they got to the show floor, that type of thing. I mean, it's still really impressive.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. I don't know if I have a favorite this year. Pancake Bot was, I mean, it's
You tried some, didn't you?
Yeah, so we had a Facebook Live of it, and it looks like mud because it was on a phone, but it was cool.
I think the pancake looks like mud.
Yeah, well, it was like a weird, aquatic blue color. Oh. I guess that's redundant, but a bluish color.
Okay.
Aquamarine is what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. But it tasted, I don't like pancakes personally, and I told them that too. I was like, I'm not a pancake guy, I like waffles, but I think it tasted like it's supposed to. It was more just fun to watch, and then, I don't know, they had the one that I ate was like a doily shape, and they had Captain America was the one they were printing the next day. And I think it was like $800, and then they were talking about how the guy that made the batter, like the formulation, he's someone that's cooked for the president of China before.
Oh, really?
I don't really know what that means, like how many people have cooked for the president of China before, but it sounded really impressive, and it was just kind of a fun one. So.
More impressive because I only cook for myself. So.
Yeah,
I don't even do that.
First set of hard-boiled eggs.
I'm trying to think what else we had going on.
So the Fusion 3 booth.
You got to talk to them. I
was talking to them a little bit, and I've never seen their printer in person, and that thing is massive. It's like if you've ever seen a Cube Pro, it's like a Cube Pro plus another half of a Cube Pro and a Cube Pro Deep. The thing is huge, and I actually saw it. It had a cameo in this last fall's movie called Office Christmas Party.
Oh,
instant classic.
Well, it's one of those movies, like I said before, where it's like you have to watch it if you're at a party and it's on in the background. You don't need to really watch it. But so if you watch Office Christmas Party, there's a cameo with that, and supposedly there's supposed to be another couple movies coming up as well that Marvel is putting out, I believe.
Okay.
So watch for that, because I think in Ant-Man there's a Form 1 or a Form 1 in the back.
Some Formlabs printer.
It wasn't a Form 2, but
no.
Well, there was a printer in Iron Man. I think Iron Man 2. I just don't remember which printer it was. It might have been a Fusion 3 printer, but like the one before, the new one that has the enclosure.
But you can about imagine what they were printing on Office Christmas Party once you start watching the first 10 minutes
something that got one of the ratings on the one of those 4 or 5 letters that would be under the letter R.
It's adult.
Yeah, something like
Don't take your kids to it.
I'm trying to think
that was really interesting to see that.
ZMorph. I really enjoyed. ZMorph has a modular heads, or I guess it's a head. You can change out the stuff. I can't think of how to word it properly, but
no, you're right. It's got
extruder, dual extruder, laser, CNC, and a paste extruder.
Yep.
So it had really, I don't know how fine it could go as far as Z layers, but I think it could go pretty low.
Yeah,
pretty small.
Yeah, and it does a really nice job of printing. And then they have a one of their dual extruders. I think it's actually, their dual extruder. It's a material mixing extruder, so it's not two distinct nozzles. It's the two materials all going through the same nozzle.
I think they had a printer there that was specifically for that, not in their booth, but in a different booth.
Yep.
That was specifically for...
I think you're thinking, I grabbed one. It was a Spanish company, and they are called something 3D, I believe. Maybe that's a different booth. I think I got that wrong. I'm sorry.
And we saw CreatorBot there. So we talked to Ben for a while. He had a bigger machine.
18 inches by 18 inches by 18 inches build volume.
So that was pretty impressive to see that. We didn't go downstairs very much and look at things.
That was the only thing we saw down there was the Nano Dimension.
That's the only reason we really went down there.
And some little Skype robot that was trying to like grab my leg. I think I was okay. So while on this topic, I was messing with my camera rig, which one of the tripods is being used right now. So it's a Gorilla Pod. I forget which size, but imagine this is like held together with a tripod. Oh, it's coming apart. Oh, yeah, it's just rubber padding. But pretty much, these would go on the shoulders, something like that. And then this part in the middle would press against my stomach. I got it upside down. But then the tripod is in there. And then it got us a decent amount of like positive attention, I'd say.
It was a good icebreaker.
Yeah,
for a lot of the
and then
booths, too.
using materials that we have in-house, the beer and coffee and hemp materials. There's a picture somewhere. I don't know where. It would have looked better if I had the tripod. But I was trying to set that up. And then this little robot comes over and tries to talk to me.
Yeah, you were like squatting down, and then the guy comes over and is talking to us, and then like the robot like moves, and then it goes up and it like cradles like a cat right between John's feet, and then like kind of looks up at him, and he goes down and he pets it or something.
What do you want me to do?
I thought he sent it on me, or like sent it to get me, and then he's like, oh no, it reacts to stuff. So
I can't remember what it said. It's
he
like
poked it. He poked its eye, and it looked angry. Because he like poked it instead of like petting it, he like poked it. He's like,
and then like spun around.
Yeah, I think maybe Todd got a video of that. Somebody.
It was interesting. I think John did.
I think it was a Snapchat. So
there you go.
Lost the time now.
Okay, someone saw it. I remember.
That page.
There were so many things that I didn't have my notes with me. I did talk to M3D briefly. We didn't get an interview with him. I just asked like, why, self-aware printer, what does that mean? Has 27 sensors. He didn't tell me what they were. I did ask. It was something he wasn't going to tell me. Low battery.
Then our cabin that we had was a wee bit small.
Yeah, it was
a wee bit.
It was like, it wasn't a double wide. It was maybe like a 1.5 wide.
It was two couches wide.
It was a 0.75 wide.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting experience. I'll maybe throw up a clip of me I did a Vegas cribs.
Oh man,
and
that was great.
It was small.
Here's an adventure.
But no, food was good. We'll probably go again next year, as usual.
Oh yeah, I think. Yeah.
I think they might be in the main hall next year. I think one of you was mentioning that.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how that's incorporated and where that's located. Who's going to be there? If it's going to be a bigger section, smaller section. But yeah, it's kind of all.
Yeah, I can't remember anything. I mean, there were some people that we saw last year that were still there. Some that weren't there. Like I think I'm trying to remember the name of the one that had the cool way it would move on the build plate, the small one. I just can't remember the name of it.
It was like Polar or whatever.
No, something. I can't remember what it was called. I have a sticker on the wall in the other room. I'm gonna put it just right here, but I can't remember right now.
Right to B-roll.
Yeah, but they were there when you guys were there. They handed out shirts when you guys went.
New Matter.
Yeah, there we go.
Mod
they weren't there this year, but I'm not worried about them. They seem to be doing just fine. Yeah. Some of the companies that weren't there, you like, maybe they're not going to ever come back.
Yeah.
Or they just don't need to for marketing, whatever. But no, it was a good experience. I guess my favorite printers are probably ZMorph and the Titan Robotics printer because they were just cool to watch. And
Race 3D was there as well.
Yeah.
The one thing we didn't talk about with the Prusa booth is that he has something coming out soon, or maybe it's out already. It has the 4 colors that go in. 4 colors, and then it's one nozzle.
The multi-material.
Yeah, so if that's not out yet, it's coming out very soon.
Yeah,
I want to say it was
January.
March. January?
I think
okay.
End of January, actually.
There were so many release dates people were throwing around.
Yeah.
One that we saw that we didn't really look at that close was XYZ. It's because we've seen them and.
Yeah, I didn't dive too deep into their booth. It looked like their powder machine was actually full of powder. It just wasn't running.
Okay, so. we lost one. Now it's Jake talking.
Yeah, just Jake. I don't know, we want to wrap up?
Yeah, we can wrap up. But yeah, XYZ, if you guys remember, we talked about the Olo a long time ago. Now I'm just over here somewhere. We had the Olo. It's a daylight frequency resin, and then XYZ has one that's coming out like that February or March on Kickstarter. So if you're interested in something like that, it'd be like $150 or $200, and it's something.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll talk about the Formlabs, the Raise 3D, the MK2, and the Anet A8 probably next week, whenever we do a podcast.
By the next time, we may not have the Mark II in yet, but we for sure should have the Raise 3D and the Raise 3D set up and the Form 2. I'm still learning things, still learning more about SLA. It's our first SLA machine, so there's a little bit of a learning
more
curve.
time, hands-on time than just a few minutes.
Yeah.
But it's sitting back behind your desk, and we got to do a bunch of reorganizing because the Raise 3D is a huge printer.
Yep.
And the shop's gonna look a lot different than any pictures that you've seen.
Yeah, we'll do a little video tour once everything is rearranged. So that's probably gonna be a couple months out before we've got everything settled.
Yeah, and I don't think I put out a video just asking for questions before we went to CES. We didn't end up really getting any questions except for like, I'm 14 and it's hard to get to CES when you don't have a company.
It's like, okay, what's the question?
Wait another 4 years.
But it was it's nice. I like I like the comments, and it's just good to know about that stuff. But if you have questions about what happened at CES or anything that we didn't cover that well, because we kind of just rambled for 18 minutes.
Specific questions.
Yeah, ask us, and we do have interviews coming out, about 12 of them, something like that. I mean, we'll have to look at them and make sure they're all good, because I know some of them, the backlighting messes up my focus rig, so it's having trouble. Yeah, there's one of them for sure. I won't say what.
We only had one person walk in front of the camera.
Yeah, no, and it was in the first video.
People are much more self-aware.
We were looking at video stuff last night.
No one walked in front of it.
We were looking at video stuff last night, and he's showing me the Markforged one, and that's where it happens. Yep. And I was like, "Oh, great!" Doesn't look like we had anybody walk in front of us. And then later, right there,
that was the one.
Shouldn't have said anything.
The one guy.
Yeah.
He didn't jinx it because it happened last week. So yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. I think that covers it for this week. So on behalf of all three of us and everyone here at Fargo 3D Printing, we want to thank you.
Just me.
All of us. I want to thank you for watching. If you like what you see, you want to see more of this, feel free to like, subscribe, follow us on the different social media channels. And if you have any topics that you want us to cover in the future, anything 3D printing related, just leave them down in the comments, and we really do try and take those into consideration when we do the future podcasts. So again, on behalf of all of us at Fargo 3D Printing, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Yeah, that battery died. I looked at it, it looked like it'd be okay, but I didn't have time to charge it because
I say he dead.
I didn't think about it.
Job opening.
Yeah. That battery charger, the keeper of the batteries.